In February of 2021, Alex VanDalsen was a free-spirited, adventurous young man navigating his future. He would go out of his way to help a friend and never met a stranger. I'm Whitney.
And I'm Melissa. Welcome back to Navigating Advocacy. Today, we are sharing the story of Alex Blake VanDalsen. Alex was born on December 20th, 1999 in Lafayette, Indiana. He was a son, a brother, a partner, and a deeply loved member of his family. He had one older sister and one younger sister, and the bond between them mattered. Family mattered. Alex loved movies, he loved making TikToks, he loved being outdoors, hiking, roller skating, finding moments where he can just breathe and be himself. He was creative and observant, someone who noticed the world even if he didn't always step loudly into it.
I had the honor of speaking to Alex's mom, Jennifer, about him. He was so loved, and in return, he loved so many people. When I say he never met a stranger, I mean it. Jennifer told me that Alex made friends everywhere he went, and I'm talking everywhere, down to the lobby of the orthodontist's office. He was the type of person who would go out of his way to help. Jennifer told me that more than once, when the weather was bad, he would run to the store for his older sister so that she wouldn't have to get her young children out in the cold. He would bring the groceries and items back to her, stay, hang out, and play with the kids.
That's so sweet. Alex came out as gay when he was 15. Later, he began to feel that he was male and wanted to start transitioning. His family and his friends were incredibly supportive of his choice. Like many other young people navigating identity, Alex was still figuring out who he was and where he fit. But he was doing that work, honestly. He graduated from McCutcheon High School at 18. College was on the horizon, even if the exact path wasn't clear. And at 21, Alex had started a new chapter, a job at 350 Liquors in Lafayette.
Jennifer said that Alex had a few different jobs between graduating high school and being hired on at the liquor store. He worked at a few different factories, but nothing really seemed to fit. Still a part of this journey he was navigating. He had been seeing his girlfriend named Genesis for a few months. Jennifer said the two of them were happy and that this relationship was decidedly different than those prior to Genesis. She was supportive of Alex, and the two got along well.
And then came February 3rd, 2021. Alex was scheduled to work his first shift at 350 Liquors that night, starting at 9:30 p.m. Instead, about an hour later, he returned home. He told his sister Morgan that he didn't have the right paperwork he needed in order to start the job yet. They said goodnight. Alex went to his room. At 11:45 p.m., security footage captures Alex leaving the house. He walked past his Subaru and out of frame. That footage is the last time his immediate family saw him alive. Alex's parents came home around 2 a.m. His bedroom door was closed, so they assumed he was sleeping and they just went to bed themselves. I mean, he's 21. They're not going to go in and make sure he's tucked in or anything, so definitely not something out of the realm. 2 o'clock in the morning, his car's out front. His bedroom door's closed. He's asleep in their minds. The next morning, nothing seemed immediately wrong. Alex's mother believed that his girlfriend Genesis had picked him up. Genesis lived in Attica and often left Alex's car at home when she came and got him, and they would just take one car to wherever they were going to go. Completely normal as well. I mean, he's 21. He kind of comes and goes as he pleases. Nobody's checking up on him. He's living his life. The only thing is, Genesis hadn't picked him up. So, but the parents don't know this. The family has no idea. They think he's now already left for the day with Genesis. But it was later that day that Genesis came over to the house because she couldn't get a hold of Alex. So she's like, hey, I'm going to go over here and check things out. That's when panic set in, because if he's not with Genesis and he's not at home, where is he? That's when everyone realized something was wrong. So Alex's mom, she called 911 around 10 p.m. to report him missing. An officer didn't arrive until after midnight. This is only after Jennifer had called a second time to report him missing and just asking if an officer had been dispatched yet. Nobody was coming by, so she's like, what is happening? She had planned to start searching again if the officer was not en route. She was like either waiting at home for the officer or she was going to go out driving around, see if she can figure out where the heck he's at. They stated that they were coming, but due to the weather and the road conditions, it was taking longer than usual.
So I want to point out that it's kind of these evening timelines seem like, wow, that's really late at night. Jennifer works second shift at one of her jobs. So she was at work when the majority of these things were happening, when Alex left the first time. The fact that Genesis called in the evening and said, hey, I haven't been able to get a hold of him. Then Jennifer left work to come help find him. So these late time frames, I just want to point out that it's not unusual because their days are later in the day. That second shift kind of throws interesting timelines, I think, into Alex's story. Jennifer stated when law enforcement did arrive that they didn't do much. They took down the information, but seemingly were more concerned with road conditions than finding Alex. This is probably one of the first red flags for me. If they knew someone was missing in weather conditions that are concerning, why wouldn't this make that person at risk? I researched a little bit on the Indiana statutes that establish the parameters of labeling someone as high risk. According to indiana.gov, to qualify as a high risk missing person, any of the following must apply: missing due to abduction by a stranger, disappearance under inherently dangerous circumstances, missing for more than 30 days, in need of medical attention or prescription medication, at risk due to abduction by a non custodial parent, mentally impaired, under 21 years old, previously threatened with or the victim of violence, specifically identified by law enforcement as at risk of injury or death, or a missing endangered adult, which missing endangered person has different parameters. But based on the high risk alone, everything that I've read says that severe weather and dangerous road conditions would fall under the deciding factor of disappearance under inherently dangerous circumstances.
Yeah, I was going to say Alex has like two or three of these. He would qualify in multiple, and we'll get into the other ones later, but he is definitely a candidate for this high risk statute.
Absolutely. A second deciding factor is Alex's medical condition. He left on foot without his inhaler, and he had asthma that cold weather could definitely exacerbate. I believe that should fall under the need for medical attention or prescription medication. I have requested Lafayette PD's procedures for how they generally handle high risk missing persons reports. I've not received those procedures back as of the time we recorded this. So it'll be interesting to compare those notes once we receive them.
Yes, because it'll be interesting for the fact that did they follow procedure or did they not even pay attention to what's written by the state? Because they should be.
Right. Your own procedures, did you not follow them?
Yes. Or are you ignoring the state procedures to put in your own procedures?
Precisely.
Something is not accurate here. Inside Alex's room, once they started looking in to see if they can find any clues about where he could have gone, there was a handwritten note. It sat on his desk. It was asking that Genesis be given back her belongings. It had like a list of a few things that she had just left over there, and her phone number was written 3 times.
Well, in this note, yes, he had this list of items of please give these items back to Genesis, but the way the phone number was written on the piece of paper, it wasn't included in the list or wasn't here's her phone number or like Genesis name with a colon and the phone number. It was like doodled at the top and then written 2 times at a different angle towards the bottom of the note. So it wasn't a coherent note that here's the phone number, here is the list, like a to-do list, if you will. It was just kind of like doodled on that piece of paper is the way I viewed the phone number written.
I mean, and it could also just be like, hey, here's some stuff that she left here, and trying to remind himself for later on, like, oh, here's the stuff I need to give back to her. Not necessarily like, hey, someone else give this stuff back to her or call her and give this stuff back to her. It could have just been his own, like the phone numbers were a doodle, but the stuff he listed was like, hey, don't forget, that I need to give this stuff back to Genesis. She could have even asked for it earlier and be like, "Hey, do you have my X, Y, and Z?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'll get it rounded up," and then just made a list of everything she said. This could be so many things. So I don't want everyone to get distracted and be like, "Oh, why is he giving all her stuff back? They must not have been happy. Are they breaking up?" kind of thing, because we really don't know what this note actually meant. Alex did take his driver's license and some cash with him. And they know this because of what we find out later on. Alex's parents not getting really much help from law enforcement. They take matters into their own hands. They contacted a retired law enforcement officer who had a scent dog, and they were able to like get her on board to help them search.
So it's kind of interesting how this all came about. Jennifer was able to make this connection through a coworker. At this point, it had been around 36-ish hours since Alex had left. Jennifer had also learned that this particular handler that she had made the contact with was someone who regularly works with the county police often. And so the fact that law enforcement did not offer this information up, another red flag for me. I mean, they could have easily recommended it in a non-official capacity. Something along the lines of, "Hey, there's a woman in the area that does this. Maybe reach out to her. She might have some ability to help you." It did not have to be a law enforcement hired this woman. It could have been a normal, as a member of this community, here's some information that could be beneficial to you and have nothing to do in an official capacity. And it blows my mind that it was not offered up to her, or even just like a normal conversation thrown out.
I agree. You have this resource, just give that information along. I don't think it would hurt anything. Two active officers would show up for the search that the family had planned, okay, with the scent dog. Though the family describes one of them as arriving with a visibly bad attitude. The officer claimed he had been there for similar situations before. Alex had never gone missing before. This is not true. Alex had never gone missing. Yes, there was police called before, but this is not a same situation at all. The search didn't last long. The family was told that it was called off early because the deputies were not prepared for a cold weather search. I'm sorry. Like, I feel like police and Boy Scouts, like, you should be prepped. You know what the weather is. I mean, we all can Google it. This is 2021, for gosh sake. We know what the weather is. There's no excuse for not being prepared for a cold weather search.
And it had been snowing for days. Like a big storm had come through. There was still snow on the ground. Then a dusting came through after that. This is the Midwest in February. It is cold, whether snow's on the ground or not. It's cold. You should be prepared for cold weather, anything in the winter in the northern Midwest.
Exactly. And that's even more reason to find Alex, because it is cold out. And he was not wearing proper clothing either. But anyways, Alex was still missing after their very quick search that they did.
The dog did catch a scent trail that led near the end of the road. This leads Alex's family to believe that he could have been picked up because the house is about a mile off of the highway. I asked Jennifer who she thought could have picked him up down the road, if it was not Genesis. And do you remember how I said Alex never met a stranger and that he had many friends? He had some friends that weren't exactly Jennifer's favorite people. There had been times where Alex would leave the home, walk down the road, and he'd be picked up by these friends. Probably so that she wouldn't see it on the doorbell camera and give him grief about it later. Could this be what happened that night? I also had asked her if she had any indication of why Alex would walk out of his house that late at night. Had he gotten into an argument with someone, where he just needed to blow off some steam, get outside, get a deep breath, walk for a minute, clear his head, and she had no idea. And he didn't like the cold. She said he kept his room around 80 degrees with like a space heater. Cold was not Alex's friend. So why he would just go outside and walk around makes no sense. Like he had to have been going somewhere for a reason.
And not take his car. Like, if you're trying to blow off steam, sometimes a nice drive is nice. Why not take your car where you can turn the heater on? He had a car there. He walked past it to walk away. So very, very strange. Did Jennifer say how far from like where the dog tracked him to like the road? How far was that of a distance? Is that what you're talking about? Like the mile to the highway?
Yeah. So the house is about a mile from the highway. So it was going that direct, not even going that direction. It was going more towards a county road. And then it just stops. Like the scent ends. There was nothing found anywhere that could have alluded to who Alex would be meeting or plans that had been made. So the idea of him being picked up is that it's an idea. It is a theory.
Mhm.
It is a potential scenario.
The retired law enforcement officer that was the dog handler had contacted one of her friends who had a thermal imaging drone. He agreed to help as well. Together, they searched within a 5-mile radius of the home. And I mean, that's a big search. We've been on searches and we're not even going a mile. And a 5-mile radius, that's a lot of land. This radius was suggested by law enforcement just as a suggestion. They're like, hey, this is what you should do. This is where you should concentrate, especially because Alex was on foot. Volunteer search parties of friends and family, they continued as well.
They claimed that if he had committed suicide, it would likely be within a 5-mile radius of the home. That's where that number came from. It's interesting that they suggest that early on in the investigation of if he walked away and he committed suicide, it would happen within a 5-mile radius of the home while they're still searching for him. They don't even know that Alex is deceased at this point.
It wasn't until February 8th, 5 days after Alex disappeared, that a detective finally contacted the family and said he had been assigned to the case. So, what is happening with law enforcement this first 5 days that the family's out there doing all this work, finding resources all on their own? Don't ask me, but that is what happened. And then it would be the very next day on February 9th at 4 p.m., Tippecanoe County Police arrived at the VanDalsen home. Alex's parents were told that their son had been found. Police showed them a photograph of a rose tattoo on Alex's hand to confirm his identity. He had been found deceased in the snow just 3 hours earlier, north of the Crosser Sports Complex.
This sports complex is between 8 to 10 miles from Alex's home. While talking to Jennifer, I asked her if she believed Alex would have walked from their home this distance, and she said there's no way he would have made it, especially without his inhaler. The direction the scent dog traced would be in the direction in which Alex would have traveled to make it to this area. Because I asked her, what is the direction from your home to get to this spot? Which way would he go? She said you could take the highway, but it would take you the long way around to get here. It'd take you many miles out of the way to get to this location. Or you could go this other way, which is down county roads. The direction the scent dog traced would be in the direction in which Alex would likely have traveled to make it to this area. The VanDalsen home is in the county. So the path that Alex would have likely taken means he would have walked through the countryside to get there. We're talking no sidewalks, no shoulders to walk along. It would be through ditches filled with snow. Remember the weather, filled with snow. You'd have to cross farmland. There would be no wind protection. Overnight temperatures were below freezing and up to 10-mile-an-hour gusts of winds, according to weatherspark.com, because I looked it up. How cold was that night? So this further confirms the idea that he was picked up because hypothermia. Come on, like the things that could happen in that cold of weather, walking that distance, the list is long.
Yeah, and Alex was not wearing clothing or shoes or anything like that that would help him in a snow-covered area like this. Like, he was just wearing your everyday average clothes that you are at your house in.
And Alex was like 100 pounds soaking wet, 5 foot tall. Alex was a tiny human being. So there's not a lot of, I call my my fat blubber. There was not a lot of warmth on Alex, okay? To keep him warm naturally. Tiny, tiny, tiny human being.
The list of questions continued to grow from here. Police told the family that there was no sign of trauma and said Alex had no identification on him. But that wasn't true. After making original funeral plans for an open casket, the funeral director called Alex's family asking that they make a change to their plans because they're like, I don't know if you want to have an open casket. So when Jennifer inquired as why would you even suggest we change this? The director of the funeral home told her that Alex had a gunshot wound to the head, a very clear sign of trauma. And obviously, if the funeral director can see it, the police should have been able to see it too. Literally right after they found him, had the autopsy done, his death was immediately ruled a suicide. Alex was found lying on his back, his ankles crossed, his hands in the pocket of his hoodie. He was wearing a black Chevrolet hoodie, yellow long sleeve shirt underneath, gray sweatpants with blue jeans, and tan leather boots. A gun was found under his right elbow. 2 gunshot wounds lined up at each temple. His body was almost completely covered in snow. I have so many questions like about the shoes alone that he was wearing. Walking 10 miles in the snow, and I mean like tan leather boots, your feet would be so cold. Wouldn't
Right. They're
they?
Timberlands. Like they're rough. They look like Timberlands. Like there is no warmth there. There is no water protection. They're not like they're going to absorb water is what's going to
Yes.
happen.
Oh my gosh. I'm like getting shivering thinking about how cold it would be. So there was also no shell casings found at the scene. This is one of my biggest ones because like metal detectors were used. And this is kind of like a wide open space. It's not like forest where it could have, like this part alone freaks me out. Okay. So metal detectors were used. Nothing turns up. No shell casings at all. Alex had obviously left the house wearing clothing that was not appropriate for the sub-freezing temperatures. His family says there's no way that he could have walked nearly 10 miles in those conditions, especially not for the estimated 3 hours it would have taken. Since law enforcement almost immediately ruled Alex's death as a suicide, minimal investigation occurred. Alex's hands were never tested for gunshot residue. There was no blood splatter at the scene as well, which is another very weird thing. I'm not sciencey enough to know like what those freezing temperatures would do to your blood. I really don't know, but it's so weird to me.
So the fact that suicide was listed before the autopsy was completed is beyond it's beyond concerning for the quality of said investigation, if you will. I watched multiple body cams from the officers on site when Alex was found, and I mean from every different angle. Thankfully, Jennifer was granted rights to this body cam footage, and I watched every minute of it. More than one of them commented on the way Alex's body appeared to have been posed or left in that position. Specifically, how his hands were in the pocket of his hoodie and the gun found behind his back. The way his ankles were crossed, this is not seemingly a natural position a body would fall into after a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, I know the law enforcement officers are not medical examiners, but experience counts for something, right? Officers see many different situations related to gunshot wounds and deceased individuals. So I believe them making these statements at the site have some weight to them.
Well, I mean, just as like complete bystanders that just yap about this, on the regular, how are you going to shoot yourself in the head, which most likely is an instant death, and then put your hands in your hoodie pocket. You have to have your hand out in order to pull the trigger. So he pulls the trigger and then puts his hands in his hoodie pocket. How? I don't even know how that makes sense.
And places the gun behind him.
Yes, I do not understand.
That's not how gravity works. It's not a natural progression of how a body would react to this. Before an autopsy had even been completed, they wrote
Mhm.
suicide.
It's absolutely insane. So, another interesting fact was that there was a car found stuck in the snow near where Alex's body was discovered. A man and a woman claimed it was theirs, but their stories changed multiple times. I'm not saying they had anything to do with it. It's just like another piece to this that's just like, what is happening? They went back and forth on who was driving it, who got it stuck, when this actually happened. They could have been covering up for something else completely. You never know why people make stuff up, or it was just not a big deal to them, so they didn't like keep any record of this. They're like, yeah, it could have been at 9 o'clock, but it was really at 8 o'clock. It was very weird, and they shifted back and forth on what was happening. The car had reportedly been there for at least 10 hours before anyone admitted ownership of it. So, what was the plan? Just to leave it there forever? And I don't live in the snow, so I don't really know like protocol, what you would do if you're stuck in the snow. Do you call a tow truck?
So that there a little bit of that gets cleared up in some of the body cam footage because I watched them talk to the owners of this car as well. And they tried to get a tow truck out there the same day, but the tow truck was afraid they'd also get stuck in there. One of the drivers had said they were back there because they'd missed their turn. They went back there to turn around. That's when it got stuck. It's just this like weird, I don't want to say coincidence, but it doesn't make any sense as to why they would have been there in relation to Alex. It just seems like a big confusing situation. One point says they drove back there to smoke a joint. I don't know. Could be, maybe not. Who knows?
These
They
people also did not know Alex. These people did not know Alex. There was
right.
no
No
confirmed that
connection.
they knew each other. This is just totally randoms.
Yep. They did also ask two separate city workers to help pull them out, but both of the city workers said, "I can't. This is a city vehicle. I'm not allowed to do so." And so that was the time progression of them trying to get someone out there to get it out. So things were happening with the car, not in relation to Alex, according to body cam footage and reports that they figured out later. It's just an on the body cam footage, even the police are like, "There's a car stuck down there, and that's a bit suspicious." So originally, there was a lot of questions that law enforcement should have followed up on. Sure, they followed up on the car, but there's still more questions. I also want to give a better picture of where Alex was found. So take all the information we've already given you and now add this in. It was originally reported that he was found north of the sports complex. And when law enforcement originally told Jennifer, the officers made it sound like he was found on the baseball field, like literally in the middle of the complex. But he was actually found on a trail north of that complex that isn't exactly well known. There is a trail back there, and it's a little bit forested, not completely covered in trees, but it's hidden back there, and it is an asphalt trail. But
Oh,
when I say it isn't very well known, a city worker that was driving the snowplow is the one who actually discovered Alex. And it's so unknown that they had to get on radios and describe exactly where to turn for law enforcement officers because they didn't even know it existed. So
so is this like a trail big enough for a car, like a asphalt, or but if a snowplow can get back there?
it's not a full size snowplow. So on the body cam footage, it's like a one person sits in it and it has like tracks on the wheels. Of it as a skid steer or bobcat
Yes.
size, a little bit smaller. It's not like the ones you find out on the highway snowplow. This is more
Okay.
for like sidewalks and smaller trails. It's tucked back in there. So like it was just interesting that they needed instructions on how to get back there because yes, a car can fit back there because they do drive their police vehicles down in there, but it's not a well-known area for people to be cutting through or that do people even know exist.
Oh, I'm so glad that you spoke to her about this because from all the reports that I read, it was like I just assumed what like was in the complex, everything was wide open, maybe not necessarily on a baseball field, but like a soccer field where there's no trees around. So this is kind of painting a way better picture for me.
Where his body was found is a flat area. It's not covered by trees, but there's trees along each side of the trail. And it's also the police in the footage talk heavily about when he could have been put there or left there or when his body was left there because a big storm had gone through. They had clearly plowed this area once because, when your snowplow goes through, you have those berms, if you will.
Mhm.
I don't know what else to call them. The snow piles that
Mhm.
are formed when a snowplow comes through. So Alex was near one of those with the snow dusted over it. So that guy, the city worker that found him, was the one who had originally plowed that path, and this was him coming through after snow had come through again, plowing the path again. So when he had done it the first time, Alex was not there when the big storm had come through, and he was behind this little berm or snow pile. And then when he came through the second time, he saw his shoes. He saw the boots, and that's what made him
Okay.
stop and look and call. So it's
Do you
just
know
like an
how many
interesting.
days it was in between the first snow plow and then the
They
second
talk
time he
about
came
it
around?
like they were like, "This is our timeline. We need to figure out this timeline," but I didn't look it up.
Okay. Okay.
So
No worries. No worries. The gun that was found under Alex was a black and pink camouflage 9mm. It was far enough under Alex's body that upon initial observation, law enforcement didn't even see it. So they didn't see a gun there at all until obviously they move his body. So really, how could someone use the gun, drop it, fall on top of it, and then put their hands in the hoodie pocket, cross their ankles, land on their back, and then succumb to the injuries? That just seems insane. So Alex's mom owns firearms, but she does say that she does not own anything like this that resembles this weapon. So then once we get to the autopsy report, they've already said this was suicide. Now we get the autopsy. This raises even more questions. And here it's going to be a doozy, guys. Like this is another one. I had to Google some things that I'm going to be on a list for, but I I wanted to verify that this was accurate information. So the report listed the entrance wound on Alex's right temple measured approximately 6.5 by 5 centimeters. Okay. While the left side wound measured 1.5 by 1 centimeter. In gunshot wounds, especially from a 9mm handgun, the entrance wound is typically smaller and more defined. Okay. So it's where it's going in is literally the size of the bullet, a little bit bigger than the size of the bullet. The exit wound is usually larger and irregular. In Alex's case, obviously, they're saying the entrance wound was on the right side. Scientifically, it would be the opposite way. Okay. The entrance wound would have been on the left side because it's smaller, more defined, more precise where the bullet is going in. So this is a very, very, very weird thing as well that I'm like, what the heck? Okay. Okay. Now this part is, it flip-flops me a little bit here. There was also reported soot on the right side and almost like a burn where the muzzle would have it left an imprint. That's on the right side, which you would expect if he shot himself in the head on the right side. So I'm just like, what the heck? I don't know what to believe. This is why we're just talking about this should have been investigated so much better than what it was, because there are so many inaccuracies and things that just don't add up that you can't just slap a label of suicide on it and call it a day. This cannot happen.
Agreed. And I want to defer back to the body cam footage again. So, multiple officers commented that the left side appeared to be the entrance wound and the right side to be the exit wound. So, again, yes, law enforcement officers are not medical examiners, but their experience still has to count for something. So, I started to think of how could could this just be a mistake? Let's say that the medical examiner just wrote it down wrong. And maybe because they were looking straight at Alex and they're like, this is the right side, which is actually the person's left side. Maybe they got it wrong. But if you are a medical examiner performing an autopsy and trying to determine whether a cause of death or manner of death is suicide over homicide, you gotta do better than that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that didn't even cross my mind that he had it wrong at all. But
That's the
but
only, like, understanding thing of, like, you're just looking and you're like, "Oh, that's my right side. Oh, that's my left side." But to me, like, in medical terms, there is a word for right side and there is a medical term for left side. So, know your shit, medical examiner. The end.
so despite all of this that's we're telling you about, the ruling never changed. They just kept it a suicide. Alex's family says police were just dismissive from the start. His mother believes prior well-being checks may have caused the officers to assume Alex's disappearance wasn't serious or that it would simply resolve itself. The original missing person report listed Alex by the name and gender he was assigned at birth. Only after he was found did reports begin referring to him as Alex. The police actually refused to meet with Alex's mom in person. Her repeated request for information went unanswered. Alex is now buried at Meadowview Cemetery next to his grandfather. His mom is asking the Indiana State Police to reopen the investigation, and so far no action has been taken. Alex was just 21 years old. He deserved time. He deserved answers. And his family deserves the truth, whatever that truth may be, because Alex mattered and his story is not over.
His family's at a standstill. Like Melissa said, they requested the state police to review the case, but so far it's remained closed. When we found Alex's story, we decided we wanted to join the fight for awareness because someone knows something and a further investigation is warranted. They did not do enough in the beginning. We're going to begin an awareness campaign for Alex, but we really need public attention to pressure law enforcement to take another look. We need anyone in the community to come forward and share information that they might have. Did you see Alex that night? Did you talk to Alex in the days leading up to his death? Do you know anything about what may have happened that night? Alex's story is eerily similar to Megan Trussell's, and her case is getting renewed attention because her family refused to be quiet. So we are begging you to help us bring attention to Alex's story. Help us make noise. Help us be loud. Follow the social media pages dedicated to Alex. Share the flyers. Share his story. Help us talk about him. He matters.
If you have any information related to Alex Blake VanDalsen's death, or if you can help bring renewed attention to his case, please speak up. Share his story, ask questions, stand with his family. Because advocacy begins where silence ends.
Thank you to Jennifer and the rest of Alex's family for allowing us to share his story and join your fight for justice. This episode was researched, written, and produced by us. Please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform or sharing us with a friend. It truly helps us help more families. If you'd like to learn more about our podcast, suggest a case, or learn more about AdvocacyCon, head over to our website, navigatingadvocacy.com. We will continue to navigate advocacy no matter where,
no matter who.